Hey there, Megan Fox at pjmedia.com. Today, I wanted to continue our little conversation that we've been having on this channel about crybullies and woke issues and the censorship that is happening from the far left towards the right. There's a concerted effort to censor and silence people who do not agree with leftist ideology. And just like that has really touched off a nerve where a lot of people are saying, "Hey, I don't like this woke bullshit. Where is this coming from?" I thought I would try and let you know how I see it from a conservative point of view and where I think it's coming from. And in that effort today, I want to read to you an article that was written on pjmedia.com where I work by Blaine Pardoe. I'm actually going to interview Blaine for my podcast, hopefully this week, if I can get a hold of him. But this is called Fight Back Against the Woke Bullies Trying to Silence Conservatives. And I wanted to read this to you because I found it very interesting and I thought you would too. Until last year, I was aware of the cancel culture and the self proclaimed work warriors out trolling the net. Wait a minute. I think he meant woke warriors, not work. That was a typo. Until last year, I was aware of the cancel culture and the self proclaimed woke warriors out trolling the net, but was unsure how bad the problem really was. Then it hit home. I had a man, a criminal on probation, who was pretending online to be a lesbian female, go after one of my publishers in an attempt to get my books delisted. When my publisher said no, this individual contacted a fellow writer and made threats against my life. This was mixed in with a campaign of threatening emails, links to horrific videos, and more veiled threats and messages. The trigger that set this person off was my novel, Blue Dawn, before it was even published. A protective order is in place, and law enforcement is monitoring this person. Even then, I wondered if this was just some crazed stalker, a fluke. Sadly, it wasn't. In recent months, talking with other conservative authors, I found that this is now the norm. Welcome to the club, one told me. Some have had to get unlisted numbers or hire phone services to screen their calls because of the constant threats. Conservatives have to hire security for public events, even something as benign as a book signing, because these woke brats are turning to violence. I was tipped off by law enforcement that one person was goading my stalker to stab my tires, hit me with a milkshake at a public appearance, or mail him a spring loaded box with Carolina Reaper powder. Needless to say, the authorities are now monitoring all of the people involved, but that doesn't mean that the risks are not real. There are countless instances of these people reaching out to employers of conservatives to try and get them fired. I have disliked a lot of people over the years, but never considered this course of action. But the woke feel that if they do it, it's a legitimate action. Why do they do this? Because they don't like the politics of the right. Like whining children throwing a tantrum, they simply want us to go away. I also know that there are conservatives out there who make threats against public people too, which is wrong. But by and large, this shift to violence originates with the extremists on the left. These people generally are not successful career professionals. Some are unemployed, the majority hold menial jobs. It is a generation whose parents made sure they got their participation trophies. Some of them are still living at home. The only place where they have a feeling of being important is online. They perceive that being loud and upset somehow makes them right. They spend their nights looking for things to be insulted about. In their minds, this makes them righteous whenever they opt to inflict pain on their targets. They are intolerant of anyone who does not believe 100% as they do. To them, the world is filled with potential targets they feel empowered to attack or harass. I would harbor a guess that this is because in the real world, they are seen for what they really are, insignificant. In their sick minds, if they are offended, that makes them victims, and they believe that being victims somehow makes them heroes. They bask in the belief that their voices are more important than those of their targets. For example, several people called me names on one of my social media feeds, labeling others as a default setting for these people, or offered their critiques of my work. I blocked them, of course. I am under no obligation to share my social media accounts as platforms for their hate. Believe it or not, this upsets them even more. Their misplaced sense of entitlement runs deep and is part of their weak character makeup. If you respond to them, they savor the fight. If you think simply avoiding your social media makes them stop, it doesn't. In fact, Not responding to them makes them escalate. What the woke want is a world filled with people who believe in whatever ridiculous things they do. Everyone else is to be denied a voice. They believe that they can bully, threaten, or be loud enough. They can intimidate conservative voices into silence and self censorship. To be clear, there is no place for violence against people's beliefs on either side of the political spectrum. That doesn't mean that conservatives should sit and take a digital beating. Most states have cyber stalking laws in place. Defamation suits, while costly, can be effective. Some states have online harassment statutes for dealing with these miscreants. We have to fight them with the tools that are available to us. Law enforcement is our ally, so use it. If we don't, we'll be driven into the silent darkness of the night. Now, I have something to say about this because I've been a victim of cyberbullying and cyber stalking by some of these same people over the years when I angered them with some of my investigative work that they didn't like me doing. And um, I will tell you that law enforcement rarely helps, and I'm glad for Blaine that he's had success with law enforcement. But in my experience, they wouldn't help. Um, they would tell me things like, "Get offline. You don't have to be online." Even though people were posting maps to my house and saying that people should shoot me in the head, or my car being vandalized in my driveway, or dead animals being thrown on my porch. Um, those were things that happened that law enforcement looked the other way and said, "We can't help you with that because, what are we going to do? Basically, we have murders to solve and your problems don't matter." My experience was that cyberbullying wasn't taken seriously at all. And even though there are laws on the books, um, the officers I spoke to weren't willing to go after them. So um, it's a real problem. And and this is something that the left is out of control with. They are very out of control with this behavior. And all you have to do is talk to some conservatives that I know who, especially conservative creators out there, people who write books, like John De La Rose. He's one he got harassment at his home, spring-loaded cans of things next to his children. Like his children are right there, and like they would be sending him spring-loaded cans of like glitter penises because they think that's funny, and it terrified his wife. Like the idea that they had their address and so he's being stalked online and then also stalked at home and all because he wrote a book they didn't like. So this is what we're dealing with when we allow woke culture to take over. This is who you're allowing to take over. You're allowing the people who truly believe that it's virtuous and called for to commit violence against their perceived enemies. I dare you out there, any of you who are like, "That's not the left doesn't do that." I dare any of you out there to find one example where conservatives descended on a speech somewhere to shut the speaker down and set fire to a building like they did in Berkeley against Milo Yiannopoulos or Ann Coulter. How Ann Coulter has to hire security and be taken out of a building in fear for her life because, they're trying to kill her. Um, for speaking. It's out of control what is happening. I'm of the opinion that I don't care what it is you're saying. I defend the right for you to say it and to say it in public and to say it on a college campus if you want to. And the only answer to speech I don't like is more speech that I do like. The answer is not to shut people down. The answer is not to go after someone because they won't use the proper pronouns. The answer is to make your case. Make your case that, and with reason, that you and change people's hearts and minds about your issues, whatever they are. The answer is never to light a building on fire to stop someone from speaking. And that's what the left has been doing. And if you are not aware of this, I urge you to look up how many times Milo Yiannopoulos has been chased off a college campus and not allowed to speak because he is a gay conservative. It is outrageous, the kind of threats that people like Mike Harlow live under because they are the wrong type of person, the wrong kind of gay. It's outrageous, the kind of stress and fear, that the left puts these people in, and I just wanted to share that with you today, and if you have any comments, please leave them for me below, and don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video, and I'll talk